everyone, my name is Cassandra Messick-Braun, and I'm the curator of Global Indigenous Art at the Spencer Museum, and I curated our spring exhibition, Healing, Knowing, Seeing the Body, which will be open to the public starting February 20th. I'm really excited to be here in the galleries. We're in the middle of installing, and I thought I would give you a sneak peek of some of my favorite works in the show. So this wall contains a series of collaborative works by the UK-based artist Andrew Carney. And Carney has been involved in a transdisciplinary research project for over a decade, looking at the non-medical side effects of organ transplantation. And as part of this project, he started a collaborative art-making series called Junctures of a Haphazard Kind. And here, Carney creates a series of watercolors and watercolor elements, then works with a sort of middleman who distributes these pieces to other artists to modify in any way that they see fit. And the process itself kind of mimics the process of organ donation. Carney is not aware of who is working on his pieces, and at the end there's a questionnaire where the collaborating artists are asked to reflect on how modifying another artist's work resonated with their ideas about anonymity, responsibility, and permissibility. So I served as the first American-based middleman and was able to work with 4 regional artists to create these collaborative works, all of which were undertaken during the first couple weeks of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I thought I would just highlight this really creative example. This is by an Iowa artist named Sydney Jane Brooke Campbell Maybrier Purcell. And as you can see, she repurposed a functional organ donation game to create this work of art that incorporates Carney's watercolors, which you can see sort of in the background. But she conducted extensive research on organ transplantation and became especially interested in learning about kidney donation. So this game is fully functional. You can play it. She has created different cards which contain different facts about organ transplantation and the human body. And it really speaks to Purcell's interest in creating interactive works of art that educate about complex social issues. I'm really excited to share this work, which is a new acquisition to the Spencer Museum of Art. It's by the Plains Cree artist, Ruth Cuthand, and it is made from beads on velvet. A lot of Cuthand's work aims to educate about the historical legacy and ongoing impacts of colonialism on Indigenous communities in Canada and North America. Several years ago, she started recreating microscopic views of various pathogens that disproportionately impacted Indigenous people from the time of first contact through the reservation period and into the present. She uses beads because they are in some ways analogous to the infectious diseases and pandemics that altered the lives of Indigenous people. Beads were introduced by colonizers and fundamentally transformed and disrupted the ways that certain artistic practices were undertaken. Tuberculosis also has a close personal connection to the artist in her own artistic practice. She recounts that as a child growing up on her reservation in Canada, she was subjected to annual tuberculosis screenings. The yellow paper that was taken from the back of the X-ray film would be discarded, and her Anglican minister started collecting them to give them to her, and these were her first art materials. In a moment when the world is gripped by a global pandemic, this work invites us to reflect how this is nothing new, but in fact has been impacting people, and especially Indigenous communities and people of color, for centuries. Right here, we're looking at a series of photographs taken by John O'Neill, who is a medical doctor and worked in San Antonio in the 1980s, documenting the bodies of men who were infected with HIV and AIDS. And Dr. O'Neill was especially interested in how bodies could show no external signs of illness, but actually be infected and be sick. So he was part of the US Army's first attempts to study the AIDS virus. And a lot of the people that you see depicted here were members of the Army that Dr. O'Neill recruited to come to a makeshift photo studio that he set up in a San Antonio nightclub called the Bonham Exchange. And here you can see sort of these disembodied figures in black and white, all of which were, these men were all HIV positive. And they posed for Dr. O'Neill, and what I really like about them is the way that they simultaneously feel very anonymous and depersonalized, and yet there's also an intimacy and an almost voyeurism in looking at these bodies. You can see the central panel shows almost everyone, with the exception of their heads, but then he's chosen to focus on other body parts, many of which were associated with areas where people thought the AIDS virus might take hold or show external signs. This is a work from the Spencer Museum's permanent collection, made by an artist from Zimbabwe named Melania Mazinyani. It's called A Child Taken by a Mermaid, and it reveals a narrative of how a person becomes a nyanga, or healer, amongst the Shona people. The narrative begins in the upper left quadrant of the painting, where a mother watches her children play in a body of water while she conducts chores. One of her children is taken by a water creature, a mermaid referenced in the title. The family then runs to the hut of a nyanga, a healer, to ask how they can mollify the water serpent and secure the safe return of their son. He recommends ritual drumming, and throughout the painting you can see references to certain types of drums. Here's someone carrying one in the corner, as well as the ritual brewing of beer, which is being done here. Performing these rituals does soothe the water serpent, who releases the child after having taught him how to become a nyanga. And the child is shown in this exalted state towards the center of the painting, wearing the red, white, and black outfit of this station. The pieces that you're looking at now are made by Holland Hudak, who is a metalsmith and jewelry maker based in Rochester, New York, and these are loans to the exhibition. A lot of Holland's work centers on her collaborations with those in the medical industry, including the Cleveland Clinic, the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, and MedWish International. These pieces are from her Hyperbolic series, and they seek to personalize the world of medical implants. If you look closely at some of the sculptural pieces, you can see that they're intricately carved and decorated. And these designs were based on and inspired by Hudak's residency that she created in Fez, Morocco. So you can see some Islamic influences here. These pieces are actually of the correct shape, size, scale, and even weight of medical implants that would actually be implanted into a human body. But these, of course, have not been. It's through this blending of aestheticization of form and functionality that Holland starts asking questions about value and who gets to access life-saving technologies in the medical sphere and who doesn't. The other thing that this series does is personalize the world of medical implants. These pieces that you're looking at now are titled Shoulder Replacement, Mrs. Björk. And this other piece is Spinal Disc Replacement, Mr. Chalmers. When I first encountered these works, my first question was, who is Mr. Chalmers and who is Mrs. Björk? What are their stories? Why did they need these implants? Are those their actual x-rays? Were these works implanted into the body? In fact, the x-rays that you're looking at are actually donated x-rays of actual patients that were donated with patient consent to Holland by the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons. She's then used Photoshop to digitally insert her own implants into the bodies of these people. Mr. Chalmers and Mrs. Björk are not actually real people. They're hyperbolic people, and that's why the series is called Hyperbolic. They're people that Holland has invented, or are amalgamations of people that she knows personally, or people who have shared their own stories getting medical implants and prostheses at galleries and other events. The questions that I asked in wanting to know who these people were and why they had the implants was exactly part of the artist's intent here, in trying to have more open dialogue and narratives about the ways that we heal the human body. The one that you're looking at now is by a Kansas City-based artist named Dylan Mortimer. Dylan has been very public about the fact that he has cystic fibrosis and has received 2 double lung transplants since 2017. This work of art, created in 2018, is titled View from the Ambulance. Mortimer shared that when he received the call that he was getting his first set of double lung transplants, he was loaded into an ambulance in Kansas City and driven to his hospital in St. Louis. While sitting in the ambulance, he snapped some photos to take a picture of the Kansas City scenery, hoping that he would live to see it again. He also shared that for him, ambulance doors, which he's observed from all over the world, exist in a precarious place between trauma and hope. You wish that you never have to see them, but you're always grateful that they're there if you do need them. This image reflects on Dylan's experience driving to St. Louis for that first life-saving surgery. And what you're looking at is him in a pair of Air Max sneakers, which is a recurrent motif in a lot of his works, because he remembers as a child wanting to own a pair of these sneakers and have the air that you have in your soles in his lungs. The circular forms are meant to be abstracted, healthy cells. And of course, connecting is a large scar at the top, reflective of his scar from his surgery, and down at the bottom, the phlegm and mucus that plague cystic fibrosis patients. Ultimately, he says that he hopes that this image will inspire people to find beauty and joy even in the midst of trauma and illness.